A Wave 3 News investigation of an alleged drug dealing house leads to an unlikely twist when we track down the owner.
The #1 request I get for investigation are drug dealing houses endangering and ruining neighborhoods. Follow along now on one of them in this undercover troubleshooter exclusive, where we find a spirited defense at the end of a church aisle. The only place at the corner of Herman and Coleman busier than the bus stop is the house next to all the students walking by. A neighbor asked me to investigate 3240 Herman Street, saying it's supposed to be a transition home, but it's nothing more than a crack and heroin spot. All hours of the day and night, there's constant flow of traffic to this location. Every time I watch, over 2 weeks, afternoons or evenings, I record as many as 15 people per hour coming and going from the large house. They can be seen counting something in their hand when they emerge. Traffic is often stacked up in the street out front. There are hand-to-hand transactions outside, too. Police tell me when scores of people are seen coming and going from a home after spending a couple of minutes inside, it's likely a drug house. The neighbor reports watching nurses and all types of people buying heroin on the first floor, and crack is delivered by a black car. Every time I watch, day or night, I record a black car stopping in the street, and someone from inside the home walks out the second it pulls up, looks around, reaches in and grabs a couple of handfuls of something, walks back inside the house, and the car whisks away. The only time I can get a shot of what's in hand, it appears to be money. And the flurry of people coming and going from the house continues. We traced the license plate of the black car to a 37-year-old Louisville man who has been indicted twice for cocaine trafficking and served prison time. During one of these rendezvous, we pop up and walk up to ask them some questions. The driver takes off. Excuse me, sir, hi. I'm John Bull with Wave 3. I'm responding to a complaint about this house right here being a drug dealing house.
Oh, no, ain't no house, drug dealing house, man. No, man, 'cause I won't be on no TV, man.
What's that?
I won't be on no TV.
When this black car comes each day, when you go out there, what are you getting from him?
I'm not getting nothing, man. Come on, man. Come on with that.
Sir, I got video of a lot of people coming and going from here. What?
It's the rooms.
No, but I mean like 6, 8, 10 an hour coming and going from here.
No, you don't.
Yes, no, I really do.
Man, it can't be. Yeah. They get the wrong guy, man. They get the wrong house.
Okay. I find the owner of the house a couple blocks away at his car detailing shop, where I tell him about the neighbor's complaint and what I observed.
I run a pretty tight ship. I pastor church, and all I do is give a person a place to stay, and if they have the money, then they rent a place. But I don't have a drug house. I don't have a mat house.
You sound like you've heard this complaint before from somebody.
Well, I always hear it. You know, I'm an ex-drug addict myself. For 28 years, I've been clean.
The following day, Pastor David Fortney invites me to Kingdom Come Church, where he has preached for 12 years.
Prison saved my life. It took the heroin, it took the cocaine, it took the crack, it took the alcohol, it took all street activity. I graduated from it. So I speak against it because I don't condone it.
He says he owns about 40 properties, and in many of them, like Herman Street, he's just trying to help people.
Sometimes when I get to many jobs, it's hard to be a landlord, and it's hard to be a preacher. Because for one, you cannot be omnipresent. Omnipresent is only a thing that the Lord has a true attribute of being. He can be everywhere at once. I am not omnipresent.
After hearing what I found, he says he went to the house, talked to the tenants, and told some to leave.
These people over there, they're nothing but addicts. They ain't no drug dealers in my building. These people are addicts. They got habits.
Well, complaints keep pouring into the Wave 3 News troubleshooters about properties owned by a Louisville church pastor. My investigation last February of one of those homes prompted the city to try to take action, but 6 months later, nothing's really changed. In fact, some say it's worse. So I went back out to investigate. It appeared to be one of the hottest drug-dealing homes in Louisville. As many as 15 people per hour every time I watched, coming and going from 3240 Herman Street, counting something in their hand when they emerge. A neighbor telling me nurses and all types of people buying heroin on the first floor, and crack is delivered by a black car. That black car constantly swooping by, meeting someone from the home, and exchanging handfuls of something for cash. When this black car comes each day, when you go out there, what are you getting from him?
I'm not getting nothing, man. Come on, man. Come on with that.
We traced the license plate to a man who was indicted twice for cocaine trafficking and served prison time. But I mean like 6, 8, 10 an hour coming and going from here.
No, you don't.
Yes, no, I really do.
Man, it can't be.
But I don't have a drug house. I don't have a mad house.
The owner of this house and about 40 other properties is church pastor David Fortney. You sound like you've heard this complaint before from somebody.
Well, I always hear it. You know, I'm an ex-drug addict myself. For 28 years, I've been clean.
After that report, the city inspected the Herman Street property and found pages of violations. Most notably, it's a prime example of a problem proliferating in Louisville. An illegal boarding house, 10 bedrooms, filled with tenants, but only zoned to be a single-family home. On July 27th, 4 months after being cited, with Fortney telling the city multiple times all the violations had been corrected and he had turned the property into a single-family home, inspectors returned to make sure, but it was still a boarding house.
They told you in March this could not be a boarding house. They told you it could not be a boarding house. They told you that, and I stood right there and listened to that. And now you want to tell us you got more tenants and some tenants moved out and someone else moved in. It's illegal. That's it.
7 people here now.
It's illegal.
Audio of this inspection was given to me by 5th District Legislative Assistant Denise Bentley.
This is not your first rodeo with this. She could be somewhere else investigating another house we have a problem with, but we keep coming back here and then you want to act like it's all new. I don't want anyone else to come by. I'm trying to do the right thing. If you're doing the right thing, you would have taken care of it when we were here in March. They gave you all your options in March.
It's not just Herman Street. Former tenants of other properties contacted me.
You put your best foot forward and do the next right thing. David Fortney does not do that. He knows what goes on in his housing.
A neighbor who doesn't want to be identified wrote me about Fortney's property at 3400 River Park Drive, a boarding house above a daycare center, saying this property's activities mirror those at Herman Street, and police have been made aware of this drug dealing more than once. So I secretly watched and observed hand-to-hand transactions in person and through vehicle windows night and day while children come and go from the daycare, packing blunts for parties spilling out on the street, and zombie-like hood ornaments in front. So I went back to Pastor Fortney with a lot of questions. A neighbor wrote me and said this one right above the daycare right here, is that yours?
That's not true, man. That's a daycare center. I've had this...
No, not in the daycare center, above it.
Above it. There's no drug activity there, man.
I've been watching it. It sure looks like it.
Well, looks are deceiving.
As for Fortney's Herman Street property, Bentley believes he's purposely stalling the system, taking advantage of tenants, and blighting the neighborhood.
The Bible calls it shelter.
Okay, you call it what you want to call it. I call it hustling. That's what I call it.
This is a help for the community. It's not something where we got illegal drugs running out the house. People are just using it for all types of things that's illegal. This is just a bedding house.
LMPD's crime tracker shows charges filed on people at this Herman Street house in June for terroristic threatening, menacing, and assault of a police or probation officer.
How can I turn my back on a drug addict, and I used to be one? And all I am is a property owner and trying to do the right thing. People, they talked about Jesus, so I'm in the club. I don't know where they're trying to paint this picture of Pastor David Fortney as trying to do anything but help people.
Anything else you want to add about any of this?
Man, whenever you do right, wrong's always present.
Pastor Fortney says he's now taking the appropriate action to try to obtain a conditional use permit to operate his Herman Street property as a boarding house. We'll keep you posted on how that goes.